everyone. It's Diane. I'm waiting for Jillian to come on. There she is. We're going to wave to her. Hi, Todd. How are you? Good to see you. We're going to try this pinning thing again, maybe. I'm not quite sure how it's going to work out, but am really excited for this live. Yay!
Hi!
I didn't realize it was 12:30. I heard the chimes on my clock. I'm like, oh, it's time.
Yeah. It's time.
Hi.
Hi.
So today, hey Renee, hey Ashley, how are you guys? Okay, so really I want to start off by introducing Jillian. She's a transformational life coach, right?
Yes.
Meridian tapping, quantum EFT practitioner, intuitive Reiki master, yoga instructor, and author. Now the author is of this book here. It's backwards, I know, I'm sorry. The Journey of the Soul Within. And I just started reading it actually last night, so This is amazing, right? I can only take it a little snippets at a time because I have to really digest the whole thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was the point of the book, but it sure turned out to be that way for me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how this came about, my friend, because this is amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So, here's the book. Yeah, here. So I started my inner journey and soul work about 6-7 years ago now using emotional freedom techniques. And then about a year and a half ago, I took it even deeper, doing quantum EFT and working with the healer, Goddess of the Charm. She's also on Instagram. I usually see her once a month or every other month through Skype.
Oh, wow.
And so going deeper and then tapping into another modality that I used to do in a past life called celestial light energy. And through all this healing work, I started getting all these phrases and channeling, I guess is the right term, channeling rhyming words and words that were really deep and, hi, April, words that are really deep that I typically didn't use before. Very spiritual and very healing, very transforming, deep words. And they would rhyme. So I could be driving the dishes or whatever. And they would just start booming in my head. And I'm like, oh, this sounds pretty good. I can start writing it down. Even like watching a movie with my family, I'd be on my phone. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, just writing out stuff. And I come up with a poem that much of what I'm saying is in my book. Right? So I didn't even know. So I started posting a couple of poems here and there on Facebook, a little bit on Instagram. And then my quantum EFT practitioner, Jenny Johnston out of Australia, said, these are really good. You should compile them and put them into a book. And you're welcome, Renee. You were amazing. Compile them into a book. And then I thought, well, who's going to want to read this stuff?
Oh,
right. Wow. So then I had to do tapping, even though I'm afraid people would laugh. People would laugh. That's what it was. People would just laugh at my writings. I'm just going to keep them for myself and post them here and there. You know, I love and accept myself anyways. People would laugh. And that comes from childhood and also embarrassment and shame and ridicule from past life stuff, which is the quantum EFT, tapping into past lives. So I was able to release a lot of that. And then I felt inspired and positive and happy. And I'm like, what have I got to lose? And it could actually help some people. So I was getting out of my ego. What are people going to think about my writings? Are they going to like it? And moved into my soul and thought maybe these writings are powerful enough that could actually help another person who has also suffered from grief, loss, pain, anxiety, panic, which are all things that I was carrying around with me. So that's how the creation of this book came to be. So I suffered from years of anxiety. It's not so much much anxiety, but a lot of worry. I was a very sensitive person. A lot of fear, but it wasn't until my boys turned 3 that the panic and debilitating panic attacks and anxiety started. And that led me 3 years later into the work that I'm doing now. And so what I did was I tapped through my healing, tapped into the hi, sister, Moonchild, tapped into a poet from my past life, like me being a poet, a writer from a past life. So see how powerful this healing work is, that I thought once I started doing my inner and soul work, that once I was able to release the anxiety, that it would probably stop there. But no, it just keeps going and going, because you can actually go back to past lives to tap or heal unresolved karma issues, that sort of thing. But you can also mine your Akashic records. You can mine your Akash and bring forth the good things from past lives, because not all past lives are negative or bad, right? We've had a lot of amazing past lives. Right. So that's what I was able to do throughout my inner work, and I didn't even realize I was going to be writing a book. It was just writings coming off the top of my head, and then that's how it kind of came about.
That is very guided. Yeah, that is very, very guided, and I think it's a blessing that you wrote the book, because it's helping so many people now. I did see a question way up before then. Ton wanted to know a little bit about EFT, how it works, what it does. I guess you kind of explained kind of what it does, but how it works for me, because I'm unfamiliar with it myself.
Oh, we should have done a session before we did this.
That would have been something, right? Yeah. Do a live on me, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, but what tapping is you're tapping on. Hi, Adriana. You're tapping on specific acupressure points around the facial area of the body. So you're talking about the issue at hand. So whether it's a pain in the body, because emotional pain has nowhere to go, it manifests in the body. So for a person who is not in touch with their emotions or their feelings, we first start with the pain in the body. So we talk about the upset, the bothersome event, the sadness, the grief, the resentment, the pain in the body, and then you're acknowledging what it is, and then you're accepting yourself in spite of what is going on with you.
Wow.
And then as you tap on these acupressure points, these are points that the Chinese have been using in acupuncture for over 2,000 years. But with this modality, you're not using needles. So it's kind of like a combination between cognitive behavioral therapy and acupuncture. And every time you tap on what it is that's bothering you, or the pain in the body, you're sending a signal to the amygdala in the brain to say it's safe now, or it's okay now to let this go, or to release this, whatever this is, whatever it is you want to change, right? So if you're feeling like betrayed or resentful or enraged or angry with somebody, that's a lot of low vibrating energy that you're carrying around in yourself. How can you be happy and joyful if you're carrying all this low vibrating energy, such as resentment or whatever it is towards another person, right? So the tapping helps to safely and quickly release that. So that's a basic explanation.
Now, is it the same points that you tap all the time, or is it a different?
Yes, they're the same. They're the same points. So you're kind of starting off here. This is the reverse psychological point, and then you tap on this, and then these are the points here. So if anyone is interested in an actual session with me, you can feel free to connect with me. But these are the points, and these are the same points that you use throughout every session. So that's emotional freedom technique. So quantum EFT is tapping into past lives and mining the Akash. Wow. So I'm able to help a client tap into a past life to heal that trauma or emotion or unhealed karma from that past life that is still affecting them in this lifetime right here and right now, because they're the same soul, just different bodies.
Got it.
Right? So I actually did a session this morning with somebody. It was her first quantum EFT session, and it was so powerful. It was so amazing. She was able to connect with a soul from her past life and bring some peace to that. So I do that, the emotional freedom techniques, and I also do matrix re-imprinting, which is working specifically with your inner child. And you use the tapping points for that as well, but I much prefer quantum EFT because it bypasses all the adulthood stuff, all the childhood stuff, and goes straight to the root of when the first time, the lifetime that fear ever happened.
That we need
Clear
to talk,
it.
girlfriend. We so need to talk. I'm going to back up here a second. Dr. Renee says it's incredible, supports the recalibration of the hippocampus.
Yeah.
I hope I'm saying that right. Yikes. And
It's another part of the brain.
okay. And
giving the
Moonchild says EFT is a great way to raise your vibration and clear cellular trauma, which is the next great segment into, yay, thanks for explaining all that for us, I know for me, we had talked last night about people being enlightened and how everybody, especially in our community, right, where, we talk about enlightenment and we talk about all these expansions and stuff like that. But what about for the person who's just starting out and these words they've heard them, but they're a little bit foreign to what exactly is an enlightenment? What exactly is a download? We talk this way because we've been probably 10 years or more working on this kind of stuff.
Exactly.
But there had to be a beginning point for all of us to start this. I know for me, it was probably, I'd say 15 years ago. And I sat down with a holistic therapist, and she looked at me, and she said, you're psychic, right? And I looked at her, and I said, no, I didn't know that. Because I didn't know that. She says, well, you are. You should look into that. And then she proceeded to give me all her, little pills and all these little things. You take this and this and this and put them under your tongue and whatever. I'm like, okay. So I started to read everything on being psychic. And all of a sudden it was like, oh my goodness, this explains. Oh, beautiful live ladies. No problem, Renee. We'll catch you later. That started to explain the things I was feeling, the things I was seeing actually, and since I was a little itty bitty girl, that kind of, I say, saved my life by being able to see these things, kind of kept me out of danger and the feelings that I got. But it wasn't until, I said, I saw this woman and she said, you know this, right? I said, no, I didn't. So that led me to the reading and the studying and the practicing.
Oh, that's amazing.
But then the Reiki part of it came because the girl who took me to this doctor just all of a sudden said, yeah, I know, Todd, you have a similar background. Just started saying, she says, I have these tingling in my hands. And this woman says, well, you have healing, so you should study that. And so her and I were being like psychic and healers at the same time.
Oh,
and we kind of learned from each other and read book after book after book. Finally, we all got attuned and all this kind of stuff. But it's a journey.
Yeah.
It's a really cool journey to take, I think.
Yeah. And how do you know, when you're in the depths of anxiety and just barely surviving day to day, what enlightenment is, or awakening, or mindfulness, or awareness? Those terms mean nothing. I just want a little bit of peace.
Right.
Don't even speak. That would be jargon to me. That would mean nothing to me. So it's so true. And very often when people have to kind of hit rock bottom, went down the rabbit hole, in order to the universe shakes you to wake you, right? So, yeah, like it was those days and I couldn't even get out of bed and whatever. But we all have some sort of trigger that wakes us up, right? And so, yeah. So then there's so many, and we're always led, right? The first thing I was led to was the emotional freedom techniques, and the first thing you were led to is the Reiki, and these modalities, as you said in the title of this, are all there to help raise our vibration and help us to set the blueprint for healing, right? Going forward.
Yes. And that, to me, I always say there's a reason, a season, and a lifetime, people, right? And there was a reason I went to this doctor. There was a reason I had the friend at this time. There was a reason for all these things. And I was going to see, I forget what they did for a profession, but because I was having these childhood memories that were coming up. And for me, all my family is passed, so I couldn't go and ask somebody, is this true? Or
Right.
is that true? Or I'm feeling this, or I don't know why I have this crazy vision in my head that, whatever. And so I went to her to kind of figure out what that was and why I was feeling this way, and is it true even? Or am I just making this stuff up? Because sometimes you feel like, no, it's all in your head. You're just making it up. It's so not true. Don't believe that. Because
definitely.
it is true.
Yeah.
And your body, I think, responds to when you're strong enough to actually do the work. Then the people will show up to help you do that work, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing how that works for me.
Yeah, definitely. And I think each person is led down a different path as well, right? To find what works for them.
Yep.
Yeah. So, for example, I guess we can talk about some of the ways to raise our energetic blueprint.
Yes.
About, do you want to, I don't know, do you want to talk about what?
Yeah, so we'll just start off with you're starting at the bottom. Now we want to raise our energetic blueprint. So
yeah,
we just don't raise it. I mean, it just doesn't happen that way. In your opinion, do you think it takes someone else to guide you, or can you, like you took your first step, like, I'm tired of being this sick and tired, which I took my first step of I'm scared. I'm scared of what all this stuff, why am I hearing these things? Why am I seeing these things? Why is my past coming to me so vividly? And that's where I started. So I was a mess myself. I was just like, I don't understand any of this. It's making me feel really bad. Yeah. And then all of a sudden the people started to show up. For me, it was the psychic thing, and then it was Reiki. But just to know the fact that I was gifted, so to speak, and didn't know it, I started to study that. And I think for me, when I started to study it, it slowly shifted my mindset to there is a higher power. There is someone in control, not in control, but there's someone, for me it's God, that you can tap into. And that energy can help you. Yes. It doesn't happen all at once, but just that realization to me was mind-blowing. I tell you, I couldn't even fathom that. I mean, I was religious at the time, yes, religious, so to speak, but I never thought in a million years, like, there's a source for me that I could tap into that would want to help me, and that I was of value enough to be helped, I think.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Mm-hmm. That to me was like, we are all born from a divine creator. Yes, Todd, absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, 100%. Like before this even started happening, I used to always talk to the universe. Like my first job out of school and different things, I'd say universe, right? I'd actually look up at the sky. When I was in trouble financially, the one and only time, thankfully, I was in my 20s, I had my own condo and that sort of thing, and that making a way for myself. And I literally looked up the universe and asked for guidance and help and support and that. And then, then you do get that. Then you go off and you forget to connect and to that energy and ask and communicate. And then I went off with my life and everything's fine. And then I get married. Then I have my twins. And then all the panic and that all happens again, right? And so because I hadn't been tapping into that divine creation, right? Into that divine source. And I remember that one day I looked up at the sky. I was on the computer typing anxiety and for weeks. And then finally checking things out, nothing was resonating. Finally, I saw the word emotional freedom techniques. And I thought, emotional? Well, everybody tells me I'm so emotional, so this probably worked for me. I'm going to check into this one. So I did, but prior to that, I was like at a real low, and I knew I had gone to see my doctor in Toronto. She wanted to put me on antidepressants, and I said I did. I took them for 3 days, and then I stopped. I didn't feel depressed. I wanted to get out and enjoy life, but I couldn't. It's like my body was numb, different symptoms of anxiety. And then the cognitive behavioral therapist was kind of helping, yoga was kind of helping, and some homeopathics, but I was still getting it. So I was frustrated, and I literally looked up at the sky and asked the universe to lead me in the direction, something that can come from within me to heal and feel better. And that's when I found emotional freedom techniques. So I did find a practitioner, and she ended up being my mentor, and I took the certification program a year and a half later. But so it didn't exactly, we always say it comes from within. It comes from within, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes when I think all the time, when you're in the beginning of this, you can't go from panic and anxiety and just go from within and tap into that, right? Like, I think that you need to find somebody who knows what they're doing, whether Reiki master, EFT practitioner, NLP, whatever it is, right? To help guide you, and then you would be able to do it on your own more and more, and then you just keep it as a daily practice, like keep doing it for yourself, right? So I hope that answers your question. Like, it doesn't automatically just happen.
And I think too, because I teach Reiki, so I think too that, like most of my students, of course, they start off as clients, right? And then they want to learn it for themselves. And for me, the biggest blessing is when they're taught these techniques, or when they can do them for themselves and they don't need me anymore.
Exactly.
That to me is like, oh my goodness, I'll get, texts and emails or whatever, DMs, and say, this happened to me today, and they're freaked out about something. Then I'll say, no, that's normal. Relax, you're okay, kind of thing. And I never leave anybody hanging with the, just teach them and go, because I don't think that's right.
Yeah.
Either.
Yeah.
But it's a blessing for me to watch my students blossom, because I was there. And I had 4 Reiki teachers who left me. So, they totally cut me off. Like, they taught, and that was it. So I always swore to myself I would never be that type of person, either psychically, energetically, whatever, that just like, boop, and leaves people hanging, because there's stuff that happens to you while you're learning, and you're elevating your energies, and your frequencies are going up, your chakras are being aligned. All these things are happening, and you don't know why. And you're scared.
Yeah, definitely.
I remember being scared. Like, what is this that's happening to me right now? Why am I feeling this way? Is it normal? Is it not? For me, I didn't have anybody to go to, so I kind of went within. But for everybody else who has taken from me, I don't leave them hanging like that. And I don't think that's fair, but
yeah,
it's another subject.
Yeah, but then that was kind of a lesson for you, right? Like, some people who would do that, who had that happen to them, would say, well, that teacher left me, so I can just leave, right? You had 4 teachers do that, but you learned that higher learning or lesson to say, as a teacher, it's my role to be there for somebody, for my student ongoing, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, just like children raised by abusive parents or whatever, or, you know, a parent, right? So I had observed my upbringing and my parents, and I could have become an alcoholic like my mom. I could have escaped the family life like my mom did and that sort of thing, but I chose. I know what it felt like, so I chose, even with the anxiety and what was going on with me, to find a way instead of escaping from it, which is what you did as well too with this. So as we learn, we're able to figure out and take a different route than what we were shown, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree, because I had to make the same choice. Do I want to be like my parents or not? And I can remember the day, actually, when I said no, and I crossed that line.
Amazing. Yeah.
I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what that would lead to. I didn't even know what I was doing.
Yeah.
I just remember that day that I just crossed an invisible line and said, this is not who I am. Mm-hmm. And I kind of started reinventing myself way back when, before all this stuff even happened. But I agree, there is a choice to be made, and then this choice leads you down a road or path, and then you can start to be healed more. And people show up in your life in the randomest ways, so it's not like you're out there alone. Moonchild says, absolutely, we align with our higher soul expressions and delayer all the accumulative debris. I love that. I love that. You said something earlier, too, that was really interesting about reflecting the cosmic heart from Moonchild Moments. We are all extensions of the source, reflecting cosmic heart. I love that. I'm going to use that, actually.
Yeah, she's a beautiful way with words.
Oh, that is
amazing.
Gorgeous. Yes, so where would you say step number one would be for enlightenment? I know for me it would be the recognition that, kind of like we just talked about, we don't want to be where we are.
Exactly.
That's step one. Then step two, like you started Googling things. For me, I just kind of went out on a limb and started reading things. I think, and for my other friend too, who's a Reiki master, she's also a crystal healer, but she was sick and tired of being in bed and couldn't get up. And so she just started Googling things, and all of a sudden this advertisement for Reiki started showing up over and over.
Oh, and over. Wow. That's
and that for her, she actually took an online class for Reiki and then healed herself.
Oh, that's
and then started on her journey. And then she met me, and we kind of were like inseparable now. But it's weird how her story amazes me as well. She was like down and down, and couldn't even get out of bed. And then she just started seeing these advertisements over and over and over again. So I think that was God's way, or the universe's way of saying, hey, pay attention here, because this is going to help you.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So it is that. It's like hitting that rock bottom, feeling hopeless, feeling helpless, and then making that choice. For me, it was like a light bulb went off, and said, if I don't figure out the most appropriate way, the best way for me, because these other things that I mentioned earlier, the cognitive behavioral therapy, the yoga, this and that, kind of helped subside the symptoms, but didn't actually heal it to its core. But that light bulb, so that went off for me, was like, if I don't get to the bottoms, my kids are going to end up without a mom in the way that I ended up without a mom.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah, because I did, because of the issues and that she was going through. And so there is that. It's that choice that you mentioned, I think, is that it's all the pain and suffering we go through, and then we can continue going through it. And it's almost like that victim mentality, because you do, where a lot of people get stuck in that victim mentality and they don't come out of it, because then they get used to the all the attention as well too, right? Right?
And I think they get used to the feeling of that dome over them. That it's like a cocoon. It's not a good cocoon, but it's their cocoon.
Right.
And they're safe in there, no matter how chaotic it may be.
Yeah.
It's still that you're safe in this little spot, so why would I move?
Yeah, yeah. There's a variety, like a few reasons, and they're kind of all connected, but it's enough to not want to make that decision.
Yeah.
Is this good enough for me to stay here? Or do I want some change, right? So, yeah, that I think would be the next step. And then doing the work, seeking what is going to work best for me. Like I tried what was first cognitive behavioral therapy mixed with some homeopathics, and I started yoga, but I was still getting panic attacks and anxiety, right? And then that's when I got frustrated and then found the emotional freedom techniques, which took me to the core root. But then the quantum EFT, that was next, right? So
wow.
So it is the hitting the rock bottom, I think, making a choice and asking around, or just being open to the signs, like your friend with the Reiki, you, me, finding those signs and going with it, right? And then doing the work with the person who knows that modality well.
Yeah, and I too, I really appreciate you saying that, because doing the work with someone who knows that modality, it's like they're placed in your way too, like not in your way, but in your path. They
definitely
kind of show up, and you're like, okay,
yeah.
But you learn from them, and then, like I say, sometimes they become inseparable in your life. Sometimes they're just there for a hot second, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
But
I got a hot second.
Right, there's a hot second. We're here, and whoop, we're gone. But, yeah. So when we first start to enlighten, and then we're going to wrap up, because I think we were just going to do like a half hour, and I have no idea what time it is. The awakening or the enlightenment part of it, for me personally, I want to tell anybody who's listening, don't be afraid of it, because there's always someone there, like Julian said, to help you. There will be. So have faith. Just have faith in that if I take this step, there's going to be somebody that shows up.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
Right? Because there totally will be. I mean, you've just had us two say it. I know a lot of other people that, oh yeah, this person showed up, that person. So just taking that first step and saying, I don't want to be here, and knowing that somebody will be there for you is huge, and watch what happens. And if anybody listening to this or sees this in the future and it happens that way, which it will, let me know, because I love these stories of, I took this first step and this is what happened.
Yeah.
To me. I just adore these stories. So anyway, really quick, I had a few questions that were asked, and I can't get to the page. Okay, Elaine from Yoga Nut 2, what are the key components of self-love? I think that will be another time to get to that one, because that self-love is a huge issue. So
well, I can touch on that quickly. I mean, I think self-love is the umbrella, and underneath that umbrella that are the key components are respect for yourself, self-respect, self-worth, of course. So it's like, am I respecting myself enough to eat nutritious food? Am I respecting myself enough to get the exercise that my body needs? Am I respecting myself enough to take time for myself, right? So that's self-respect. Or am I going to disrespect myself and eat bags of chips every night sitting on the couch? Or, right? This is an example. So the more you and it's hard to respect yourself when you don't think you're worthy of it. So there's a self-worth, right? So for me, I didn't respect myself for years. And, you know, I would go to parties and drink and do this and that and party and stay up late. So I'm abusing my body, my mind, my body, and myself. But I had no clue I was doing that, right? But so I think those are the components. And the tapping allowed me to shift that and tap into more respectful parts of myself and see my self-worth. And I think those are components that hold up the umbrella of self-love. Right?
Yes, I agree.
There's so many things, everything we do on a daily basis. Are we respecting ourselves every time we make this decision? We go see this person, we allow this person into our house. I put this drink or food into my mouth. Those are all forms of self-respect and self-worth and self-love. Mm-hmm. Right? So, yeah, that's just my...
That was brilliant. I didn't know quite where to go with that, but that's brilliant. I love it.
You're right. That could be a topic on its own.
It could be. Lori, English coach, what are energetic ways to increase positive attitude and emotions? And I think you just kind of touched on that with the eating and the exercise. Those all raise your vibration. Just those two things alone, eating right, you know, eating energetic foods.
Yeah, but a lot of times it's hard for people to just decide, okay, I'm not going to eat chips every night and sit on the couch. You know logically that's not good for you, right? You know, the odd time here and there, party or whatever, or you're having a movie night. Oh, there's my doorbell.
Do you have to go?
No. So, but what the tapping does, it allows us to acknowledge that self-sabotage is what that is. When we do something, we know we shouldn't be doing it, but we do it anyways. And those lower vibrating emotions that you just said that person asked about, you can use emotional freedom techniques to quickly tap that energy of self-sabotage out of your system, and then you tap in self-love or the actions instead, right? The energy for that instead. So a lot of times there's a resistance around doing that, right? So, for example, like even though I'm resisting doing what I need to do for myself, I love and accept myself anyways. And just by a couple rounds of that releases the resistance. And then all of a sudden, like, you're eating vegetables. Like, I used to, for quick snacks here and there, I used to grab slices of cheese. I used to grab crackers. I used to, you know, a granola bar, a muffin, the carbs, right? But the tapping for me, I used to crave Doritos. Used to be my favorite food.
Oh,
no
geez.
longer. No longer.
To have a Dorito would be like, oh dear Lord.
And I was just at my third EFT workshop, Emotional Freedom Techniques, and I was a volunteer for the food craving exercise. And even though my mentor, I never tapped on food craving, so she said, "Sure, Jillian, come on up. There's chocolate, pop, candies like gummy bears, Doritos, Lay's, all these things." So I tapped on Doritos, and what came up in 25 minutes was that I was controlled by my dad. So as a form of freedom, I can eat these chips whenever I want. And I started doing it when I went to university. So I left the controlling environment, and then I'm away from that, yes, but I need something else to control me when my dad isn't there. So the chips controlled me. So I don't know if that makes sense, but then I never craved Doritos again. Do you know what I mean? Like, now I could have the odd one, and then I'm like, hey, that's enough. But I used to sit and eat the whole bag. But now because I know my body and my self-worth now, I mean, we still have work to do, but because I know that, I ahead of time, like on Sunday, I cut up carrots and cucumber, celery, and peppers, green peppers, red peppers, and orange ones, yellow ones. And then I will dip them in hummus. It's like a quick go by instead of grabbing a slice of cheese. Like, see, that's self work, but it took me a long time to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then making the dedication to do my yoga flow every day or go for a run or whatever. Or I could just sit and read for that hour, but I need to move my body too, right? So that's all forms of higher energy frequency. So the more we can implement those in our lives, right? And we know it. So there are the tools like, I think Reiki helps with that too, because you're just releasing stuck energy. And emotional freedom techniques helps to release that self-sabotage, right?
I like the Reiki that would release it, yes, and then you know how we're taught to replace it with light and love. We're not taught like you're talking about, like replacing it with a good thing. For us, yes, we can release it, but then I think that's where the Reiki ends and other modalities begin.
Yeah.
Do you agree? Because you do both, and the Reiki can clear you and make you kind of shiny and new,
more
ready,
open to
and more open,
change, definitely. Yeah.
Right? But then it needs to be things that come up with that can be helped by the EFT or the QFT. Is that right?
EFT. Yeah.
EFT. Yeah. So then that makes sense to me now, because if the Reiki can make you one piece again, so to speak,
yes,
and make you bright and shiny and open,
yeah,
and then move on to other ways of healing, I love that. That's brilliant.
And the thing with tapping is you can do it on your own at home, right? Because I find with a lot of modalities, you get dependent on going to see your practitioner or your coach or your person, whereas, the same with Reiki, but to get your level 1, you can do Reiki on yourself at home. But with tapping, you can do your tapping on your own at home in between sessions, right? And then eventually you just don't even need to see your coach anymore, because you're in a place that you can take care of yourself and tap and change your own energy. That's
brilliant. And I had one more question, but I think we'll answer this one in a DM, because that one's going to require a little bit of work. So.
Oh, okay.
But our time is up for today, and I so appreciate us getting together. This was great.
Yeah, it was awesome. We'll have to do it again.
I know, right?
Topic.
Yes. And when I have my session with you, and then we can maybe talk about that for a whole hour.
Oh, yeah, we can do that.
I don't know. But for now, how do people reach you?
If it's a serious inquiry, they can reach me through Instagram. Just direct message me at Transform with Jillian. If it's serious only. And there's also my email address. I don't know how to print here on the screen or anything, but it's Jillian, Gillian at EFT-transform.com.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And people, I guess, most people would know how to reach you, or you should let them know anyways?
Yeah, I think pretty much everybody knows. Just go to my, what do you call this thing? Instagram.
Yeah.
And there's a link to my website there. Tells you all about what I do, how I do it, and how much it costs. And you can book your own appointments there. You can pay for it, and then I get notified at the end. So, and for the psychic stuff as well, it's the same thing. I'll just tell you this right now, I do not do one free question. So, like Jillian, only serious, please.
Yeah.
If you want to talk to me, we'll talk. But I do not do one free question, because that could be a whole hour. And
yeah. Oh, that's true.
That's kind of intense there. So I appreciate you, and I love you, and thank you all for joining. And I will save this, hopefully pray to the Instagram gods I can do this. And we will talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you, Diane. This was my experience, and look forward to another time with you live.
I know.
And for all the future viewers who aren't watching, thank you for everybody presently on who joined in, and even for the future viewers, thank you for coming.
Yeah, we appreciate y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.